Okay, so this is my afterthought slash rant for the final episode of Game of Thrones season 8, episode 6, the series finale. I have to say that I'm a little disappointed. I did not like the episode at all, and not because Daenerys died or because things didn't happen the way that I thought they were going to happen in my mind. I just think that overall this season has been really poor as far as the writing is concerned. It feels, like I said many times before, it feels very rushed. It feels like they crammed a whole bunch of stuff in there to try and wrap up everything in one season, and it just wasn't cohesive. It just didn't flow properly, and there were some plot holes, some inconsistencies, and also some issues with last night's episode. There was a water bottle left out. I didn't catch it, but people have been posting it. If that's true, I'm starting to think that they was doing that on purpose now. First the coffee cup, now then Jamie's hand, now the fucking water bottle. I'm starting to think they was doing this shit on purpose. It just seems like the writers just threw in a towel and just didn't give a fuck about this show anymore and just wanted to finish it up. And I don't blame the actors because they're just going to act out the parts that they were given. It's the writers who wrote these stories for them to act out. So I blame the writers. And if HBO had any type of influence, because I remember reading something about what George R.R. Martin wrote about how sometimes television shows and movie producers or whatever, they'll chime in and say, well, this person has a higher rating, is more popular with fans, so we're going to give this storyline to them, even if it doesn't make sense. So, the writers and anybody at HBO who chimed in to make certain things happen this season that did not make sense, just butt out. Leave it to the professionals. We love the fucking show. We love majority of these characters, even the villains we love. And it's just let the story work the right way. Don't just be throwing shit in there that don't even make no fucking sense. Because all that foreshadowing and prophecies and building up that we had in previous episodes, it needs to lead someplace. And they completely dropped the ball this season. I've been keeping hope out. But I felt like with every episode, the writing declined. With each episode, it declined in its consistency. This is not the Game of Thrones that I loved and watched seasons 1 through 7. I'm so disappointed. I do still like the show, and I'm going to always like the show. But the fact that season 8 was so poor, like fans are outraged. The fact that this season was so poorly executed might prevent fans of Game of Thrones from watching any spin-offs or sequels or prequels that they put out there, especially if it involves the same writers. We might not want to continue with this because we put our heart and soul into and dedicated our time into this show, and we're diehard fans, and we feel like we got the shit into the stick in the end. I feel like this series finale is going to go down as one of the worst endings. It's going to go down in history as one of the worst TV endings ever. It was so bad. The season has had its good moments, but what the fuck was that ending? So, first of all, my first complaint, and I don't want to complain about the entire episode because it was an okay episode. But my first complaint is Dany died in like the first 10-15 minutes of the episode. What the fuck was that about? When she died, I was like, wait a minute, we still have how much time left? What are we going to do the rest of this episode? First of all, we all know that, or had a feeling or an inkling that it might come down, that we might lose Dany this episode. That it might come down to Jon having to kill Daenerys this episode. But Jon was still in denial because he loves her. And he was making excuses for her. She watched her dragon get shot down. She watched her friend get beheaded. He was making excuses for her for the things that she had did in King's Landing as far as burning innocent women and children and people alive. But I thought that Daenerys, I thought we was going to see her reign of terror a little bit longer. So I thought that maybe she would make another outrageous attack on some place that was more personal to Jon, and that would be the defining moment for him. That would be the moment where he would have to make a choice. It would be the woman that he loves versus his family or something like that. I thought, because she mentioned Winterfell and all these other places when she came out after the dust had settled and she was talking to her soldiers. She mentioned something about Winterfell. I'm going to liberate Winterfell and all these other places she said she wanted to liberate. And so if she had ordered some type of attack or something, or some outrageous thing against Winterfell or against Sansa, because, Sansa was the one who spread the secret or whatever, and it came down to Daenerys versus Sansa or Daenerys versus Arya, then I could see Jon having no choice but to kill Daenerys at that point. But after just one conversation with Tyrion, he's just not in denial anymore. He goes in there, he confronts Daenerys, and then he just puts a knife in her heart after one conversation with Tyrion. Like, we knew that she needed to be talked down or killed this episode because of the heinous thing that she did. It was unforgivable what she did. But I feel like it happened too fast, too soon. It was rushed. And another thing that didn't make sense is Daenerys is a smart woman. She knows that she just did something that was hateful and heinous and totally irrational, and that what she did, other people might not agree with it. And yet, she was in that throne room with no guards. Jon was able to walk right in there. And she didn't trust Jon at that moment, because in the previous episode, when he didn't embrace her that last time and she said, "Let it be fair then," I thought that was the end of their relationship. When she came out after she burned King's Landing down in this episode, and she was talking to the soldiers and they was all praising her and things of that nature, and she was talking about what the next moves were going to be, she gave Jon a dirty look. And then a mean ass look. And then she walked away with her soldiers back to the throne room. So at this point, she said it before that Jon had betrayed her. So she knows that she has snakes. According to her, they would be snakes. She knows that she has people here that don't agree with what she did and people here that she cannot trust. And yet she's in the throne room with no guards. That part didn't make sense to me. After her realizing that there's people around her that have betrayed her, after realizing that she did something that was awful and that some people might not agree with it and might want to retaliate or confront her about it, she's in this room with no fucking guards. She's a smart woman. She wouldn't have been sitting in there without some type of bodyguard. And then when Jon comes in to confront her, she smiles at him and starts telling some story, and then he interrupts her. And it's like she's asking him again, "Be with me." I thought y'all was done with. I thought y'all was hating. I thought you was hating him right now because of what happened the last time. Now y'all on kissing terms again. That part didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. Now all of a sudden y'all on good terms again. Enough to the point where you want to kiss him again. I thought you was pushing him away and he was pushing you away, and now all of a sudden they're kissing again and she's asking him to be with her again and to rule with her. And she has no bodyguards around her. That makes no sense. It makes no sense. I also wanted to see Daenerys actually go down into the street and walk the streets amongst the rubble and see all the charred bodies and little burned children. And I wanted to know if she felt some type of remorse or regret for what she did. We heard her conversation about how she blamed Cersei for her having to kill all those people. But the fact of the matter remains, before she started burning people, innocent people, and burning King's Landing, she had already won. They had already surrendered. So she had already won, even though Cersei tried to use these people as human shields. She didn't have to follow through with the killing of innocent people because there was no point to do it at that moment, because you won without even having to set fire to King's Landing. You won. You did that because you was mad. What you did was not Cersei's fault, because Cersei had failed in that moment. Cersei's plan failed. She tried to use these people as human shields, thinking Daenerys, wouldn't attack because all these innocent people are in the way. And yet they surrendered anyway. You was able to take King's Landing without shedding any innocent blood, and yet you decided to do it anyway. So the way she was talking, yeah, at that moment we know that she needed to be killed. But I wanted to see her do something a little bit more personal to Jon to make him finally, take the plunge and kill Dany and take her out. Also, can I say I just love Drogon. He came in there and he burnt that Iron Throne because he knows that Iron Throne was Dany's undoing. This is the cause of all of this shit that's going on. And I also think that Drogon and Daenerys have a special connection, almost like a psychic connection, because he knew that she was hurt and he flew up there. Just like when they was in the arena and they were being attacked by the Sons of the Harpy or whatever, and she held Missandei's hand and she closed her eyes. A lot of people thought that she had like summoned Drogon, because as soon as she closed her eyes, he just appeared out of nowhere. They have a special bond to the point where he knows when she's in danger. I thought that was spectacular, that whole scene right there. It was beautiful and whatnot. And I know it hurt Jon to do what he did, but I just love that dragon so much. I'm glad that he destroyed the throne. It seems as if Bran and Sansa kind of like weaseled their way up the ranks to become king and queen. So before, Bran said, I can't be the Lord of Winterfell. I can never be the Lord of anything. I'm the three-eyed raven. But it's okay for him to be king of the 6 kingdoms now. It's okay for him to be king. But he couldn't be Lord of Winterfell. So I'm starting to think, well, we know that Bran can see the past, the future, whatever, things to come. So he knew everything that was going to happen. So I'm thinking that he gave Arya that dagger to kill Littlefinger and to kill the Night King. That eliminates one person in the running for the throne and one threat out. Then he gives the information about who Jon really is. He passes that information along so that Jon can discover the truth, and it puts a wedge between him and Daenerys, ultimately leading to Jon killing Daenerys, wiping out the second threat for the throne. And now all of a sudden, and then he banishes Jon back to the Night's Watch, and now all of a sudden Bran is the fucking king. It seems like he weaseled his way up there. I don't know how to feel about that. And I wanted a little bit more conflict as far as the North and Daenerys is concerned. But we just got Sansa just sitting on the throne now. Jon was hesitant to hug Sansa back. He blamed Sansa for having to kill Daenerys a little bit. And she said, can you forgive me? And he never answered her. He gave her a hug, but he never answered her about forgiving her. And, she hugged him first. And then eventually he hugged her back. But I think he blamed Sansa a lot because he is the one who told her that secret and asked her to keep it. She promised to keep it and she didn't. And as a result, he had to kill Daenerys. And it caused some friction between the two of them. and it possibly caused her to go crazy and burn everybody up in King's Landing, and it caused Sansa to get exactly what she wanted, which was the fucking, which was to become the fucking queen in the North. I feel like a lot of people weasel their way up. Also, Tyrion, I don't think he was a weasel, but by having that last conversation with Jon while he was in his cell, he put the thought in Jon's head to kill Daenerys. And so, ultimately, Tyrion was able to get his revenge via Jon for the burning of King's Landing and for the death of his brother and sister. Everybody got what they wanted in this situation except for Daenerys. We didn't get any answers after Drogon took Dany away. Where did he take her body? Where's Drogon? Why is Bran the king of the Six Kingdoms? Tyrion was able to reclaim his title. Now he's Hand of the King. It was just, after Daenerys died, the episode got real shitty. Because her death was beautiful, but I feel like it could have happened midway. She didn't even get a chance to reign. She didn't even get a chance to rule and set forth one more heinous fucking act and then meet her demise. I feel like her death could have came mid-episode. Everything just seemed so rushed. And then the end of it was just so mellow. And it didn't make sense. And at the end there, when Jon gets back to Castle Black, we got no dialogue there. Just a whole lot of looks. Him looking at Tormund, and then later on him walking through with the free folk. They're all migrating beyond the wall. I'm assuming he's going to live beyond the wall with the free folk. I don't know. We didn't get no dialogue. No dialogue during that scene. Why did Jon come back from the dead? Did he only come back from the dead to stop the Mad Queen? What was his purpose? Somebody come back from the dead, they better have a big ass purpose. I mean, stopping Daenerys was important because Daenerys wants to be judge, jury, and executioner. Who is she to decide what's right and what's wrong for everybody? Because, you know, what's right for one person might not be right for the next person. We know good from bad, good from evil, right from wrong. But she wants people to live her way or no way at all. And her way of liberating people is to obliterate them. We will liberate them. We will obliterate them. We will kill them if they don't follow our way of life. All she had to do was go like this and she's Hitler. She's talking about, I freed you from a tyrant. Also, Yara was saying she freed us from a tyrant. No, she became a tyrant. Because what did Cersei do? Like, I know everybody was on this road to killing Cersei and stopping Cersei. But what was the heinous act that Cersei was doing? Besides being a shitty ruler, what else was she doing that was causing people this much animosity? So Jon doesn't get to be happy. He went through so much and overcame a lot, even found out who he truly was, which is what he always wanted to find out. And he ends up right back where he started. And he doesn't get to find happiness. Like, I wasn't expecting a happy ending. I actually think that the story would have been more fulfilling if the villain would have actually won in the end. If Daenerys would have actually been sitting on that throne and then we get like a shot of her sitting on the throne and all this chaos brewing and maybe people taking up arms against her in the end. And it just goes off like that because we already know what's going to happen. It's going to be a war. It would have been much more interesting. It's always more interesting when the story doesn't go the way that you want it to go, the way that you foresaw it. It would have been so much more interesting if she would have actually survived. And I feel like Jon, people are saying, well, he tried to talk her down before. This was the only way. This wasn't the only way. Like, I know Daenerys needed to die. I just didn't think that she needed to die at this moment. This moment wasn't the moment that she needed to die. What she did was terrible, yes. But after just one conversation with Tyrion, it's just like, okay, I'm going to go kill Daenerys now. Didn't make sense to me. Bran is the fucking ruler. I feel like we could get a whole spin-off series of Arya off on her adventures, exploring the world. I would love that. I put that in a post last night. And then today I went on Instagram to the actor who plays Jaime. And he said the same thing. A sequel about Arya off on her adventures. So I was happy to see Ghost and Jon reunited. I'm hoping Jon finds some happiness. I really do. I feel like that was a terrible ending. Writing wise. It just felt rushed. It felt inconsistent. I'm struggling with this episode. Struggling with this entire season. I really am. What happened to my favorite show? What happened? I also thought that we were going to get a fight between Grey Worm and Jon because there was so much tension brewing between the two of them, and especially after Jon did what he did. And we didn't even get to see, after he killed Daenerys, we didn't get to see them her soldiers storm in and take him away, and we didn't get to see the reaction of everyone when they found out she was dead. We just cut to like a few weeks later, and Jon and Tyrion are in a cell. So, I don't know. I did like that Grey Worm, he's returning to the island where Missandei was from. I did like that. But I was just expecting more from this season. I mean, this is one of the greatest television shows on TV. And I feel like this is going to go down as one of the worst endings of a series. One of the worst endings of one of the best TV series. It's going to go down in history as that. And that's a shame. That's going to deter people from watching anything else Game of Thrones related. This is the moment where they should have pulled out all the stops. They should have really went big and not rushed it. Just give us a season 8 and a season 9. If y'all thought it was going to be too rushed, too jammed, too crammed. Didn't even flow. What was the point of the white horse? They really put emphasis on that white horse at the end of that scene. They put so much emphasis on that white horse and Arya touching the horse and all this other stuff. I thought she was going to get to at least confront Daenerys. What was this whole thing about her kill list? I'm going to kill the queen. What was the whole thing that Bran was saying, maybe I can find him? Why is he looking for the dragon? It would have been much more interesting if at the end, after they named Bran the ruler, the king, if later on we get a shot of Bran in the room by himself, you know, in like a throne room by himself, and his eyes turn blue. Because remember when the Night King touched him? What if the Night King put a piece of him in a piece of himself got connected to Bran from that touch that he gave him? And what if Bran was really the new fucking Night King? Like, what if he's had that inside of him? Like a part of the Night King inside of him. And then at the end, we see his eyes turn fucking blue, and we realize that the fucking Night King won all along. That would have been fucking dope. There was so many dope ways to end this. I thought Jon at least was going to end up on the throne because he was the next Targaryen. I mean, well, we know there's no throne, but, you know, was going to end up ruling, even though he didn't want it because he was the next Targaryen. It went to Bran, and then Sansa with her sneaky ass. She just wanted to get Daenerys out of there so that she could be queen in the fucking north. I'm mad. The person who did the least amount of work ends up as the king. I do like that Sansa fought to keep the North independent. And just don't hate me because I'm saying a lot of negative things, because I love Game of Thrones and I still fucking love the show. It's still going to be one of my favorite shows. I just feel like this last season was rushed. It's still phenomenal. I guess you could say the good outweighs the bad, whatever. Also, Jon, his ending is so devastating. So, like, he never actually felt completely part of the Stark family because of his bastard name. Catelyn reminded him of that all the time. And so he would be left out of family functions and things like that because of his bastard name. And so he finally finds out the truth about who he is and who his parents really were. And in the end, he still loses his family and gets banished beyond the wall. And doesn't really have a place where he belongs. It's sad. His ending was sad. Maybe he'll find some comfort out there living amongst the free folk. When he was with Ygritte, he seemed to really get along well with that particular group of people and the way that they live, and he understood their ways. But I feel like his ending was just so devastating. I mean, we knew that this wasn't going to have a happy ending, but it was just really fucking devastating, yo. It makes you think that, you know, some secrets are worth keeping to yourself. And it was sad. It was sad. I don't know. I do still love Game of Thrones, though. I really, really do. I love the show. I'm just a little upset about the ending, but still a great show. Still a fucking great show. What can I say? Well, Game of Thrones is still going to be one of my favorite shows, but season 8 is not the best season for me. I have a lot of issues with it. So seasons 1 through 7, I'm giving 5 stars. And season 8, I'm giving 3 stars. Overall, I thought it was a decent season, but I am very dissatisfied and just heartbroken. Heartbroken. I feel like the writers just didn't even want to bother with it anymore, and they just gave us a whole lot of crap. But I still love Daenerys. I still love her, and I was hurt when she died. Poor writing. Well, it's over. That's it. We can't get no redos. That's all there is. Jon didn't even have any major moments this season except for killing Daenerys. I can't remember one outstanding thing he did this season except for that. Well, hopefully we get the books. It won't be the same as watching it live in action. Hopefully George R.R. Martin will complete the damn books already so we can know how the show, the series, really should end. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and opinions down below. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. I'm done. I need a Game of Thrones break. I'm disappointed. It's devastating, really. But that shot with Dany when she got off the dragon and the wings came up behind her, that was dope. And the whole dragon, Jon and Daenerys confrontation, and the Drogon scene when he was trying to wake her up, that was really beautiful as well. So it had its ups, but after that, I didn't like it. An episode after that. All right, I'm done. Let me know what you thought about the episode down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. I'll see you guys next time. The one thing that Dany strived for the most, the one thing that she sacrificed for the most, the the one thing that she fought for the most, the Iron Throne, was the cause of her death. And I think that's why Drogon set the throne on fire instead of taking his anger out on Jon, because he knew that her thirst for power and her thirst for the throne is what led to her death and her demise. And Jon, sacrificing his honor to fulfill his duty of taking out the Mad Queen. Like we know, Jon is the most honorable person, and he sacrificed that honor and his duty to his queen to do what was right for the people. So the more you look back on it, you realize that it really was a spectacular ending. But we wanted more, the fans, but it just seemed rushed, but it really was a good ending. I just can't stop thinking about the hurt and betrayal that Daenerys must have felt at that moment after gazing into Jon's eyes and kissing him like that, and then he just stabs her. I know what she did was awful, but I just can't get over how she must have felt in that moment. I think she still had a little bit of hope of being railed, pulled back in. I'm going to miss Dany so much. But it was, I want to say, she worked hard for everything. She didn't deserve that. No one deserves that. I don't know. Maybe if Jon would have just said, I'll be with you, and tried to win her over that way. Kept putting these thoughts into her mind about other ways to go about things that might have worked. I think there was hope for Dany. I really do. Man, Daenerys didn't even get a chance to sit on the throne. I guess that's kind of what her vision kind of meant, because in the vision she came close to touching it, but she never actually touched it. And in reality, she touched it, but she never actually got to sit on it. So I think in her prophecy, in her vision, in her dream or whatever, her not actually touching the throne was kind of like symbolism that she was never going to actually ever sit on that throne. That's what that meant. It meant that she was never going to actually sit on the throne. I'm so sad I lost my Daenerys. I loved her so much. I gotta tell you though, if Jorah was still alive, nobody would have been touching his Khaleesi. She would have been ruling, trust me. Nobody would have been able to get... Jon would have had to kill Jorah to get to Dany. I wanted her to... I would have loved it if the villain won. I'm like, I want to cry. I miss Daenerys so much. No wonder why Kit Harington was crying at the table read. No wonder. And who else is a little bummed that we did not get to see Nymeria and her wolf pack come? We didn't see them this season. I was hoping that they was going to come back into the picture. And Bran played everybody. He knew he was going to be king. How many fucking seasons ago? Why do you think I came all this way? You played everybody. You played everybody like fucking puppets, like a fiddle. The fuck? Shit was devastating. Devastating. And the inconsistencies this season are just ridiculous. I mean, come on. The small details matter. So, in the final episode, we see Tyrion going down where Jaime and Cersei met their demise. He should not have even been able to get in there. We saw in the previous episode the entire building collapse and fall down on top of them. They should have been buried under hundreds of bricks, tons of bricks. He shouldn't have even been able to walk in there, first of all, because the whole thing fell down to the ground. He was walking through. There was a dragon skull that wasn't even crushed that was nearby. He was able to walk through. There was like a path. They should have showed maybe, the Dothraki and Unsullied or whatever cleaning out the rubble and then coming across Jaime and Cersei's body. There's no way he should have been able to walk down some... There shouldn't even been any stairs left. There's no way he should have been able to just walk down in there, move a couple of bricks, and discover their bodies. They should have been buried. They should have been buried under tons of bricks. But he was able to just walk in, move a few bricks, and unearth them. That was so silly. It was so stupid. It was so inconsistent. No, I understand the writers or whomever wanted us to get the reveal of a dead Jaime and a dead Cersei together. But not like that. That was stupid. So you mean to tell me if they would have just moved over to the clear path that Tyrion was walking through, using to walk through to get to the rubble, they would have been okay? We saw that fucking shit fall down. Are you kidding me? Inconsistencies, y'all. I'm still trying to figure out where Drogon brought Dany's body. Remember the Red Priestess? It would have been nice if he brought her somewhere where she could get resurrected. I mean, because if Jon could come back from the dead. We didn't get no closure with that. And it's so devastating that both of Jon's lovers died in his arms. Ygritte and motherfucking Daenerys. I'm mad about this season. I'm mad. I'm sad. It's over. Things to add. The Iron Throne was basically the root of all evil. It was a cursed object, and I think that's another reason why Drogon completely destroyed it, melted it down to nothing. It has taken hold of so many people and caused them to do things that they probably normally would not have done for the power of that throne. So it could be possibly because of all the swords that were surrendered that helped make the throne might have caused that throne to actually become a possessed object, a cursed object. So if you want to look at it that way, in a supernatural type of way. As soon as Daenerys physically touched the Iron Throne, as soon as she touched that Iron Throne, she sealed her fate. All those who sit on the Iron Throne die tragically. As soon as she touched that throne, I knew she was going to die. I had a feeling that her death was coming. The throne is cursed. It's like the root of all evil. It's cursed. When she first came into the throne room, they show a shot of her staring from across the room over at the Iron Throne. She's like hypnotized by it. She's like drawn to it. That Iron Throne has a power to it. The thing is, I disagree with Daenerys' plan to try and take away people's free will. You can't just kill people because they disagree with your beliefs of what's right. But the same goes for Jon killing Daenerys. You can't just kill her because you disagree with her motives and her beliefs. I wish that he would have tried other ways to try and stop her before actually having to come to the realization that he was going to have to kill her and actually doing it. But of course, this was the last episode. They tried to cram too much into one episode. But like I said, her descent into madness was rushed. This last season was very much rushed. And we didn't get to see it happen gradually in a way that makes more sense. I feel like there was still a little bit more hope for Daenerys. I really do, especially after Jon came into the throne room to confront her, and she was smiling and trying to tell him a story and acting on normal again, and hugging on him and kissing on him. When she was just mad at him last episode, and I thought that that was going to be the end of any type of affection that she had for him, but clearly she still had affection for him and was, begging for him to be with her. She really, really loved Jon, and he really, really loved her. It's just tragic. It's fucking tragic. I think there was still hope for Daenerys to come back to, the good side of things and see the error of her ways. But they killed her off in like the first 15 minutes of the freaking show, and we didn't get to see her, we didn't get to see if she had any regret or remorse for the things that she did. She cannot kill people just because they don't agree with her motives and her beliefs in the way the world should be. And he cannot kill her just because he disagrees with her motives and her tactics and her beliefs. And her beliefs in how she thinks the world is going to be. So it's both sides is wrong. Nobody's right in this situation. But he did take just one life to save countless others versus Daenerys killing millions that she didn't necessarily have to kill to save people. Who are you saving if you're killing them? And it's such a gray area. I'm so conflicted because I love both Jon and Daenerys, and I understand, but I don't want to understand at the same time. I don't know. And I also liked how the series ended where it started. It came full circle. So in season 1, we see the wall and the Night's Watch, and I guess they was going beyond the wall in season 1. The way I'm remembering it in my mind. And then in the end, we see Jon coming out of going beyond the wall with the free folk. Just like it was in season 1. So it came full circle. It ended the way it started. I hope to God that Jon finds some happiness. I'm still trying to figure out why Bran is looking for Drogon. Why do they want to find Drogon? I don't think Drogon is a threat to them. He only did what Daenerys commanded him to do. So I'm not exactly sure why they want to find him. And he was last spotted flying east. I wish we would have heard more about that before Bran cut Sam off. And love the fact that Brienne was writing down Jaime's good deeds. I remember way back when Joffrey was being a dick to Jaime, and he was looking in that same book, and he was like, oh, somebody forgot to write down all your good deeds. So I'm glad that she did that for him. And did Podrick become a knight? Because at the end, Brienne called him Sir Podrick. So, I don't know. Just some positives that came out of that, I was hoping that we would see either Dany in the afterlife with her baby that she lost, or possibly Drogon delivering her body to the Red Priestess to be resurrected, and then at the end it would go off with Bran warging, trying to find Drogon and witnessing something, and it would just go off like that. But of course we didn't get that. We didn't get any conclusion about Dany. I think she deserved better, but what she did was awful. It's hard to justify it, but I just was not ready for her to die. It's just so complicated because I love Daenerys, but I also hated what she did. Alright guys, that's it. Those are my thoughts about the series finale of Game of Thrones. I'm very sad that it has come to an end. And despite any issues I might have had with this final season, I still love this show. It's still one of my favorite shows. It's still one of the best TV shows ever. And, I'm going to miss Game of Thrones. So, despite any issues, still one of the best damn TV shows. Leave me your comments down below. Let me know what you thought of the series finale or what you thought of this last season. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.